This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Hello, and welcome to Her Story, the show to encourage more women to explore the possibility of using their skills and talents by participating in leadership roles within our community. I'm Tiffany James. I have the pleasure of hosting this program. Her Story is here to encourage women in our community to actively engage and use their voice to bring attention to issues they are passionate about, with the hope that we'll all get more involved. Please welcome my guest, Amber Jennings, owner and broker of record of Peak Point Real Estate Brokerage in Sauble Beach and Owen Sound. Hi Amber. After earning her real estate license in 2007, it was clear that she had found her calling as a young, skilled entrepreneur. In 2010, she purchased her own Peak Point Real Estate franchise, and in 3 years, Amber became a leader in sales. In 2020, she opened a second location in Owen Sound and was honored with the top-selling realtor member of Real Estate Board of Grey Bruce Owen Sound for residential, commercial, and land. Welcome, Amber. I'm excited to hear your story.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
So tell me a little bit about your background and what brought you to real estate.
Well, I grew up in business. My grandparents were Glenn and Judy Juniper of Owen Sound. They had a Scenic Color Center for, I think, since 1969. And I, as a kid, grew up working in their store. At the time, I didn't appreciate it because I probably wanted to be with my friends. But I spent lots and lots of time, weekends, nights, summers at the store. So I'd say from a very young age, I got a really good love of business after watching, my grandparents in business. And they were obviously in business for a long time because of how they treated people. And it was really, a testament to their customer service and their hard work that they're in business so long. So I always wanted to open up my own business. It was kind of going to be a natural thing for me to do. But my husband was actually working with a fella that was in real estate, and he suggested Jason get into real estate. And Jason said, well, no, I don't want to do that, but you should. And at the time I said, well, real estate, I was in pharmacy at the time. And I said, real estate, that's an awful big jump. Why would I do that? And he said, well, you'll be great at it. Just do it. So sure enough, I did. And here we are today.
So you were from Owen Sound. What made you focus at Sauble?
Well, it was funny because it was really just a random thing. We got married in 2003, bought our first house in Tara, and Jason was just driving around and he found a house in Sauble. And so we liked it. We put in an offer. We moved to Sauble just randomly, had no ties to Sauble. And then that was 2005, I guess. And the realtors who sold us the house also said, you know what, you should get your license and come work for us. So I started my career off at McEntee Sauble for the first 2 years. And that was just kind of a random thing to even be out there. And here we are today, many years of a successful business.
Wow. So who would you say the main influences in your life are? You mentioned your grandparents and you've mentioned your husband. Was it your grandparents mostly where you got your business acumen from?
I would say so. My mom had a very good head for business too. And I would say as well. But definitely, I have to say my grandparents were the biggest. And my Nana, did so many things in the community as a businesswoman too. And, when you think back in those days, it wasn't really like women were kind of just finding their place, and especially in a business like, where there's contractors and painters and not used to dealing with a woman. And Nana, she learned the ropes. She was the best paint tinter in all of Owen Sound, I think. And I think watching my Nana, kind of bust through barriers as a woman too over the years, I think she would definitely be my biggest female inspiration for sure.
That's awesome. And was it the move to Sauble that changed your trajectory in your life from pharmacy to real estate, or?
Yeah, I'd say that was the push because Jason had been bugging me to get my license. And then, like I say, it was just these realtors who sold us the house. And unfortunately, one of their team members had just passed away, and an opening came up. And unfortunately, that was where I got my spot in their office. But definitely, yeah, that random move changed the whole course of our life, which is strange.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Sauble is gorgeous with the beach, so who wouldn't want to live there, right?
It's beautiful. I confess though, we're so busy. We don't get down there much, but we have got to change that. We're just, summers are just so crazy and but we absolutely love living at the beach.
So, what would you say your big motivator is? What motivates you to be the top of your field? Because you have been for the past several years, you've been the top in your field.
I think, you know, I've always had this weird desire to want to keep achieving. I think even since I was a little kid, I've always wanted to achieve all these awards and what's the next best thing. And for me, I don't know. I think it's I'm just a perfectionist and I really love to work. So I don't know. I'm always wanting to perfect the craft. And I think that the beauty of my husband and I co-own the business. Jason's not a realtor, but he does our drone work, our 3D tours, our cinematic videos. And what's nice for me is, to be honest with you, like I would never have taken the leap to do that unless Jason was a real person who had a lot of confidence in me. I was quite nervous to take that leap. But the neat part is doing it together. We push each other, so I think we just always want to do better every year. And I don't know, I guess we just love what we do. So
That's awesome. Where's your favorite area in Owen Sound? I'm sure you, or not Owen Sound, in Grey Bruce. You've seen it all. So,
I would have to say probably, as far as like somewhere to go as like as a resident, I would say Harrison Park's my favorite place to go. That
mine too.
as a little kid, it's just when my brother was little. There's 17 years between my brother and I used to always take him to see the ducks. And then when our daughter was born, of course, the ducks. I think Harrison Park's a magical place. But there's so many great places in Grey and Bruce. I think we get spoiled. It's funny, you go to the city for a day and you think, oh, you're in the big city, you're doing shopping, and you just want to get the heck out by the time that day is over. And you come home and you think, boy, we're lucky. We really need to appreciate where we live. So I don't know. I think there's too many places to count that I love here.
That's nice. Harrison Park's near and dear to my heart too. I remember being little and going to the Harrison Park camp, right?
Me
And
too.
catching the
And swimming.
little crawfish down on the river. Yeah, it's the best.
I was actually a pretty good crayfish catcher, I must say. I was a
Yeah.
tomboy till I was about 12, so I had different skills back then.
Yeah. That helps. The tomboy always helps when you're in a profession where there's men involved. It always helps to have that little bit of tomboyish
It
in them.
definitely helped me out for sure. And growing up around trades definitely gave me some good experience. I found makeup at 12 and I was like, whoa, what is this world? So that changed my hobbies.
Um, so what besides Jason, you mentioned your husband pushing you to real estate. Would you say that was the drive for you to become so successful and that's what led you to this career? If there was something else you would do, what do you think it would be?
I don't know. I really love people. I've always really loved seniors, and it's funny because you get to this point. And I mean, I'm lucky because I really still love what I do. Like I love trading every day. We don't have any other agents. It's just me. For the fact that you know, I don't I don't want to be a babysitter right now. I don't want to be overseeing other people. We want to be like, finessing our business and growing and changing and, all that kind of stuff. So at some point, maybe I will want to bring other agents on and maybe take a back seat. Maybe, doubt it. But I definitely, now that we've kind of attained a certain level of success, I'm thinking, I need to get a hobby outside of real estate. I love to cook. I really love to cook. I couldn't see myself going into a business like that, but I definitely want to do something with either seniors. I volunteered in nursing homes growing up. My mom actually forced me to as a kid, and I'm glad she did. And I got really great experience, and I developed a real love for seniors. So I think I would do something with seniors, and probably something with maybe young kids that need help finding their way or need some motivation or don't have a role model or in a tough spot. I'd like to do something to that end, I think.
Well, you're already becoming a good role model for your daughter. It's nice to someone to look up to see mom be a powerhouse in her field. Um, so whose shoulders are you standing on? Who holds you up?
Um, Honestly, I got to be honest with you. I mean, I have a really, really extremely supportive family, which is wonderful. My grandpa, who is unfortunately passed away now, he was a huge supporter of my career for sure. I don't know. I know this is a her story, and it sounds maybe sappy to say, but honestly, my husband's my best friend. I just lucked out. I lucked out and I found found the right one early. And honestly, like he is really, and everything I do, Jason supports me. Do we fight? Oh yeah. We live together, we work together. I'm not saying we're perfect by any means, but we have this awesome balance of being able to tell it how it is and move on with our day and coexist together in a very happy way. And I have to say, I don't know what I'd do without him, to be honest with you. So I think he definitely is a driving force. As sappy as that sounds, I just want to give him the credit.
That's nice to hear. So that I'm sure he's your biggest fan as well. How would you encourage someone looking to start a career in real estate, or even just looking to start over? Like you started over from pharmaceutical to real estate. That's a huge difference and a big jump. So what would your advice be to someone?
I think the biggest thing that people need to realize is your time is not your time. And that's part of why, honestly, I mean, there's probably a high divorce rate in real estate, because I can't tell you over the last almost 17 years how many times, oh, you've got dinner ready. Sorry, I'm going to be 5 hours late. Or we're at a family function. Oh, I can't go. I got to go show a house. So if you want to make money, you have to be available to people. That's just what it is. So I think people get into it thinking it's this glamorous profession. And some of it, sure, some of it might be if you're watching Selling Sunsets. And Gray and Bruce, be prepared to get dirty. You got to go into crawl spaces. You got to check out underneath houses. I won't go in attics, but I will go in a crawl space. But you've got to be able to get dirty, be available to people. But the third thing I think I would say is that it's a very expensive business to be in. Like if you want to do well, you need to be doing it full time, but B, you got to spend the money. So you got to be advertising yourself, your product, and that's a huge cost. So you can't just get into it thinking that it's a cheap profession, because advertising is expensive. Advertising over our staff costs would be our highest cost in a year, obviously, even over overhead for 2 offices. So if you're prepared to do that and give up your schedule as you know it, you will be successful, I think. And be honest, obviously. You have to be honest.
And don't show up to a farm in high heels.
Well, one time years ago, I did that very thing, and the lady wanted for me to get the listing. She made me get on my own 4-wheeler and go throughout her property, and she had hers. So I was on a 4-wheeler in heels going through a 100-acre property. So maybe
I hope someone took a picture of that.
I wish I had them. I should have started writing memoirs long ago, because you wouldn't believe some of the stuff that's happened over the years. It would be a good book.
So it says that what is your favorite? Commercial, residential, land? What do you enjoy selling the most?
Commercial's fine. And I like commercial. I've done a lot of different cottage resort sales, which are neat. But I have to say, I love the neat part about Gray and Bruce is that it's not like a subdivision in Brampton where there's just residential is pretty much the only use. In Gray Bruce, it could be a cottage, it could be a house. So it's kind of neat that you have the dual market to market to. So I have to say, I think the residential recreational properties are probably my fave. I've seen some pretty spectacular, cool places. Like I've seen thousands of places, but it's very cool. I think that market.
I bet it'd be a really neat coffee table book, all the unique homes you've seen in our area.
Absolutely. And the different, like every waterfront's different, every property's different. It's very fascinating. We do live in a really spectacular area. So
we do. We're surrounded by water, and water's always beautiful.
And rock.
Yeah.
The rock and the cliffs and Niagara Escarpment. And it's just, it's pretty awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. So what would you say was a pivotal moment in your life that inspired you to expand? Like you've, in a short period of time, in 13 years, coming on 14 years, you have just grown exponentially and exceeded so much in your field. So what would you say was a pivotal moment that inspired you to say, hey, you know what? I've got this. I can do this. They were right.
I don't know if I can put it down to one exact moment. I think every single day I'm always assessing myself, trying to do better, adding things to the repertoire. And I think through that, naturally, it just happened, because every day we're trying to do better and do, bigger things. So I don't know what the exact moment would be, to be honest with you. I think I don't know. I honestly, I don't really have an intelligent answer for that.
Do you remember your first big sale?
Well, my very first sale was a funny story because a fellow came into the office that I worked in, and there was other agents around, obviously, and he didn't look like your typical buyer per se. So I was a new girl, so this fellow got put onto me, which I was completely happy for. I treat everybody the same, and turned out that this man was in the market to buy at that time. I think it was the most expensive cottage ever sold at Sauble Beach. Wow. That was my first sale, and it was kind of neat because I treat everybody the same, regardless of walks of life. I don't put on airs. I'm very humble, and I respect people. And it was a really good lesson to humanity that don't judge a book by its cover, because you just never know. So that was kind of an exciting first sale for me, in many ways.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So, and some of your training and talents I've learned is interior design, and you attribute that to working with your grandparents. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
For sure. So my mom was an interior designer, which obviously she learned the craft from her parents and her mother. And I remember when I was at the store, and I wasn't a bad child, but I was a smart child who always wanted to do different things. So they taught me visual merchandising really young. So I can remember being like super young, and the windows of the store downtown, Nana would always have these beautiful displays, and they started off teaching me with that. So it's kind of interesting because then I, in her bed and bath shop, they'd have me do displays with new product and that kind of thing. And it was neat. So then, I obviously got to go to houses that they would decorate and see how they plan things as well. But it's cool now because I think part of our success is how we showcase our properties. We always try to have the best technology. We do cinematic video, 3D virtual tours, but how we package a property, in my mind, it's like I'm doing a window display. So it's funny because it totally goes back to what I learned as a kid. And I think that's really attributed to our success, because how a property looks, that can make or break someone wanting to buy it, So that interior design has definitely helped me. And I love it with obviously our own house. And it's Jason actually likes it too. Him and I are actually a good team as far as picking out things for our house. So it's kind of ours. Personally, I would say too.
Oh, that's awesome. But how important would you say staging is to the selling of a house? You mentioned interior designing, but staging too.
It all depends what it is. The problem up here is in the cities, they have access to these stores with like big warehouses of rental stuff. And there's some good staging companies around here, but definitely it's harder in a smaller center to get access to things that they do have in the big city. So a cool thing is, a couple of years ago, I think it was 2020, I'd been following this new tech, and I virtually staged a condo with this one company that we use. And it was very cool because growing up in the design business, I can picture an empty room and I can picture what I would do to it, but not everybody has that skill. So just taking a picture of an empty room, they can't get perspective. So virtually staging is a very good option. And as some of them look dorky, but as long as you pick ones that look like they could be an actual furniture in the room, it's really neat because it really kind of helps people paint a picture of what they could do with the space, so that's a very cool option that we have now too.
Well, that's neat. You mentioned that you're constantly evolving with the work and what's changing in real estate and with advertising. And how do you keep yourself up to date if it's such a changing environment and it's keep going? How do you make sure you're on top of everything?
Well, I'm constantly reading, different blogs or, articles, business articles, and tech. Jason follows a lot of tech because he's our tech guy. So we're constantly, finding out about these products long before they even launch, and then patiently waiting for the launch and trying to be one of the first ones to get the new product. So that's one thing we're very diligent about. But you have to do the research to, and then it's a vetting process. Like, is that product just hype, or is it actually legit? And so it's kind of that's kind of a hobby in and of itself, trying to hunt for new tech all the time for our business. It's kind of fun.
And I guess you would have to do the research as well when you're looking to sell a property too, right? There's a lot of research that goes into that.
For sure. And I'm a very logical person. And one thing that I found very hard during the pandemic is that there was no logic to pricing. So it was very, very tricky because you would have a house which is superior, but it would sell for $50,000 less than the inferior property. You think, well, why? why did that sell for less? It doesn't make sense by the numbers, So the research now is we're trying to find, new ground in this new market, post-pandemic market. So the market's trying to find its new median right now. So it's interesting because before the pandemic, maybe you'd go back a year with stats and that would be accurate. But now, I may be going back 120 days to try to find accurate research to price property. So research is really key too, for sure. And knowing what buyer might be the right fit, that's important to market it to.
Oh, I want to touch base on that. Is that true that there is a right home for the right buyer? And is that something that you focus in on when it's getting to know your buyer to know what would fit for them?
Yeah. And also it depends which end you're doing. So as a listing broker, sometimes you have a house which has got such funky, weird features that only about 10% of the market will want it. So that's a real skill, because then you have to think, okay, well, I don't care what the 90% because they don't want it, but how am I going to get to that 10%? And how would I attract them to maybe buy this? And that's kind of neat when you get kind of a thought-provoking one like that. One of the courses that I and certifications that I've got is my certified luxury home marketing specialist. And what I thought was neat about that is this one module that we did, this lady in California, she got this house and it had this big underground gun range. She's thinking, how the heck am I going to sell this to anyone else that doesn't want a gun range? So long story short, what she ended up doing was marketing it as a perfect place for a studio, like a music studio. It's soundproof, it's underground, and that's how she ended up spinning. I mean, it was more eloquent than that, but that's how she ended up marketing the property and finding the right buyer who would need that, So it's kind of, that always stuck with me, because I thought, wow, that she really thought outside the box with that,
Yeah, absolutely. That never thought of that, right?
No,
a gun range on your home. A gun range. You got
an underground, extensive gun range. Can you imagine?
No, only in America, right?
Right, exactly.
So tell me a little bit of what you've learned about yourself on this journey that you've been on for 14 years now.
Well, it'll be 17 next year.
Wow.
Yeah, it'll be 14 with our business and 17 in real estate next year. I have learned that I can push through anything. I really have. My husband I was just new into real estate. Jason had a bizarre injury at work and seriously injured his back and couldn't walk. I was thrust into the role of breadwinner, and the market tanked that year. So all of a sudden, I'm the breadwinner, Jason's severely hurt, and the market sucks. So we pushed through that. And that's quite why I was a bit trepidatious when Peak was bugging me to buy a franchise, because I thought, we just got our heads above water again. It's 2010. I don't want this responsibility right now. But we did it. And then we got pregnant 8 months later with our first child. So I went through my very first year with our business, as big as a house almost. And I went back to work 3 days after having a C-section and kept growing. And so I think at this point that I don't know what would break me at this point. So that's good.
That you're just showing the resilience of women. I remember my husband and I owned a business, and when I first had my first child, and I was back to work 2 days later because someone had to do payroll. Right? It's crazy what women can do, right?
It really is. It's I think that's what I've learned most about myself during this journey is you can do anything if you just keep pushing on, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. What is something that piques your interest that's unexplored territory for you? So we've mentioned interior design and staging. You've mentioned helping out with seniors, which is something not many of us can do. So props to you for that interest. But what is something else that is unexplored territory that you would like to tackle?
I always say in my next life, I'd be a lawyer. I love the law. I find it so thought-provoking. And now I would have no interest in going back to school for 10 years or being a lawyer at this point, because I have a family I want to see. And I know to be successful, you got to block that out and not see your family. But I do think the law is really fascinating. And that's definitely something that interests me hugely too, I would say.
I think you'd make a good lawyer too.
Well, thank you. I would love to be a lawyer. I think so too. Jason would tell you my debate skills are excellent. So
I think most husbands will say that. Don't argue with my wife, you'll never win, right? What advice would you give someone that's trying to find their voice, that are struggling, and because you're out there, people know who you are, you've got this strong business. What was the advice would you give someone trying to find their voice?
I would just say, you know what? More people will help you than you think. If you there's people like myself out there. If someone were to reach out and need some help or mentorship or some guidance, I can't tell you how many times a day I'll get called up by some people I don't even know, and they could not even maybe live here, asking my advice or questions and things about maybe how I run my business, or things about properties, or random other things. So I think if you just try to find the right person and maybe have the guts to reach out, you might be able to find someone who can, give you some tools or guidance or assist you in helping you to find your voice. I think people are sometimes too scared to ask because they think they'll get shut down, but there's more good in people than we think. I think.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. Ask those hard questions and reach out, right?
Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome. Well, Amber, that is our time so fast. So thank you so much for joining me today. I think that passion is the secret ingredient that drives hard work and excellence. And I think you've shown that today. You're open to 2 franchises in the Sauble Beach and Owen Sound. You've done this all on your own. I didn't know you were you're your only realtor in your practice. So that's a lot. Good for you on that. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you would like to share to let everyone know about the secret to success?
I think honestly, it sounds, I don't know, it sounds trite, but honesty and hard work, I think, is the 2 key ingredients. And if you got those, you're laughing.
I love that. Honesty and hard work. You heard it here, folks. Honesty and hard work. It's nice to know that you're continuing that story of your parents or your grandparents and your mom. Even though it may be a different path, you're still continuing that entrepreneurship that started from when you were a young child, designing those store windows with your Nana.
Thank you for having me.
I'd like to end the program by encouraging everyone to get more involved in your community and find that spark that ignites you on your journey to create your own story. Thank you so much, Amber, for joining me today. This was lovely.
Thank you so much for having me.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com. Public transit, garbage pickup, parks and recreation programs, snow removal on your street. How can you stay informed about these and other important local services? Tune to City Council coverage on Rogers TV. See your community leaders at work on Rogers TV City Council coverage.
Today, I helped a parent feed their family by connecting them to a food program.
Today, I helped someone connect with mental health supports.
Today, I helped a couple struggling to pay their bills access financial aid.